Well, hey, welcome to the Learning to Lead podcast. I'm joined with Pastor Rich Wilkerson Jr.
Let's go, man.
And in case you don't know who he is, he's an incredible pastor in Miami. Launched your church. I'll let you tell the story. Tell them a little bit of just who you are and kind of what you do.
Well, we're coming up on 4 years, actually. Goes by like that.
Wow.
But we launched a church called VU Church in Miami, Florida. We served with my parents for many, many years at Trinity Church in Miami. And then 4 years ago, they launched us out to start a brand new church.
Come on.
And so VU is just short for rendezvous. Rendezvous means the meeting place. And it's just an amazing thing what God's doing right now in Miami. Seeing so many people get their life to Jesus, so many brand new converts. And my wife, Dawn Cherie, and I, we lead that together. We have one son, Wyatt Wesley Wilkerson, 17 months of age, and we've got another boy on the way.
Come on, bro.
Now, you have a fourth one coming.
We have a fourth. We have 3 boys and now a girl due in
Stop.
like 2 weeks.
Stop,
This
man.
is it. We're done after
I'm
this
going to
one.
call you. I got to keep
stop
calling you more. I need more advice. It's just...
Bro, my 5-year-old son smashed my
I saw that on your
eye.
IG. It looks awesome. That's the best story ever, bro.
Man, yeah, it's fun. I'm pumped for you, bro, and I'm pumped. When is your second son due?
October,
okay.
like
Oh,
24th.
like
This
this
October. Yeah.
October.
She's like 6 months, third trimester right now. This
Y'all
guy's
just
coming.
announced this like a month ago to the church, right?
We announced it a couple months ago.
Yeah, May.
Yeah.
So on this podcast, we kind of talk about just the journey of leadership and lessons you've learned. And you, in your first year, you really experienced exponential. I mean, every year you've seen exponential growth. I see your pictures. People watch that. So talk about like what they don't see, or maybe that you've shared with your staff, kind of inviting them into that journey of seeing the incredible growth of your church, but also some of the struggles along the way, the buildings and the things the battles along with the leadership.
Yeah, I think the bigger the vision, the bigger the opposition. And so I think every time that God speaks to us or we get a dream for something, it's going to be tested and there's going to be challenges along the way. And so Instagram's a funny thing, right? Because the optics of it only show just one side of the story, like you're saying. And so VU is...
But you like to you show some of the other sides too.
I
though,
try to
which
sometimes.
I like.
Because one of the things we were talking to our team about a year ago is every year we kind of lay out a theme and kind of say this is what we feel like the Lord's speaking to us, and it kind of creates good phrasing and conversation for our church. And last year our theme was Stand Firm, really from the story of Moses, stand firm and God will deliver. But I think the big thing we were selling over and over with our staff and our team is that everybody loves like memorable moments and highlight moments, but memorable moments are made up of mundane moments. And so the way that you steward the mundane is what creates the memorable.
Come on.
And so I think over and over again, we want to try to make hard work look fun. We try to make all the stuff that isn't very exciting. We want to try to put major emphasis on that and make that as exciting as we possibly can. And I just think our journey as we've stepped out, there's been incredible things that God has done. But yeah, there's been so many different battles and so many different challenges and so many different things that have kind of tried to stop us or stifle us. And I think it takes a tenacity and a grit to kind of keep going and to keep moving forward. I think for me in my life, what we're just constantly trying to do is say, God, whatever you put in our hand, we want to really, really maximize it. I think people, they get so fixated on like what's next or the big thing, but really the thing that we have to maximize it or God will multiply it.
Yeah.
I just believe that over and over again. The things that we maximize, those are things that he tends to multiply. And so we have a phrase at our church. We always say, this is big. Like, no matter what it is, if it's small, it's like, this is big.
Yeah.
I think we have to retrain our minds to think about the small stuff that we're doing to go, man, these are the things that this is the seed that we put in the ground to see a harvest come about.
Come on.
And I think things have grown, but that stuff's also relative. Success is a lousy teacher is what Bill Gates said one time. I just believe that. Like, I don't want to ever believe the hype of anything. There's so much more in my heart that I want to see us do, and there's so much more that God's shown us. And I want to stay true towards walking ahead. I want to keep my head down and moving forward. And so, there's been some growth, but I think there's a lot more to come, hopefully. And I think the way to do that is by staying focused with where we're at and what we're doing.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't you see that though? Sometimes don't you think people like?
Yeah.
I like Instagram. I think you do such a good job with it, by the way.
Bro, I'm
but
just
it's like
following the master.
No, whatever. But it's like a lie, Like, I just think we got to get better at, like, just a tool. Just a tool. Like, it's telling a story, but, like, there's always more to the story. There's a headline, and there's a full story. And so, I don't know. I think one of the things, like, our generation, is you can look around. Like, I look at the stuff you guys do, I'm like, oh, my gosh. I always write you. I'm like, dude, your church is unbelievable. And I'm always writing you, like, you're running through the auditorium, or like you have a bicycle and there's like 9,000 people. I'm like, what is this, man? But I think if we're not careful, it's like so many people in our generation that it's like they think that's what success is, but they don't know all the stuff behind it. I think we got to do a better job at showing the other part of the story too.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, I love, I listen to your words and I listen to your messages and what you do on Instagram. And I love that you invite people into watching what you're doing with your staff, because you really spend time with your interns, your staff. You're building a college. You have a college, which is amazing. And, I do agree that, like, it seems like people who are excited about the spotlight, they're not thinking about the teamwork that it takes and the time spent. And like you said, this is a big thing. Hey, this prayer before service is a big deal. This break is a big thing. This set list this week, it's not a conference, but it's a big worship moment. So I think that's awesome. I love that. You also have written a few books. You got another one that you're writing right now?
I'm supposed to be writing one right now, but no, I'm not. I'm trying to begin, but I'm far from beginning.
What's this next one on?
Well, I'm trying to do a leadership book.
Come on, bro.
Yeah, so I'm going to call you up again because I think we're both
whatever,
learning to lead.
dude. I'm going to be reading your book.
I've actually titled it, it's called Learning to Lead. It's like, bro, that's my title.
So when we had you last time you came, it was like 2011.
It was a fun trip. I got sick, though.
You got sick.
I apologize about that. And Daniel brought me Qdoba in my room, wherever Daniel is. Thank you for that, Daniel. That was a weird request, but I appreciate your humility and your active service.
And what was crazy is both of us, we were leading college ministries on Tuesday nights. We had our Tuesday night young adult service. You had your Tuesday night.
It's a sacred night, man. You want a revival in your church? Tuesday nights.
8 p.m.
Take that, write that down quickly. This you can't get this on any podcast.
But I was getting so many of our young adult ideas from what you were doing with Rendezvous, and then the day came.
What'd you name yours?
Ours was called 3D.
That's a better name. Rendezvous is very like.
3D does not have any spiritual meaning to it.
I think it's cool though. 3D, like everyone loves 3D movies, and we should be living in through three-dimensional.
Yeah. I just tried to add all those extra
disciples, devoted, declaring.
The 3Ds.
You know that one of my worst sermons I ever preached. I called it the 3Ds. This is a true story. My dad, I'm sitting in church. This is when I was like 14 or 15 years of age. My dad was super Pentecostal and like very like. Rich, you got a word for the church. I'm like, what? So I get up. This is a true story. And I walk. He's like, Rich, the Lord just spoke to me that you've got a word. I'm like, I don't even know. This is so weird. And I come up on the stage, and I was like, I remember I kept calling the church, but I was like, that's weird when you're like 14. Church? And like, shut up. Don't say that.
You're church.
Yeah. I was like, church, the Lord is speaking to us. I want to talk to you about the 3 Ds. This is all on the spot. D number 1, drug addiction has to decline in our church.
I love it.
D number 2, divorce. Why am I preaching the church about divorce? I was like, quit divorcing each other. And then D number 3 was death, but I want to talk about murder, actually. I was like, we got to quit killing each other. Literally, if you go to a church and the 3 worst problems there are drug addiction, divorce, and murder, I would run from that church quickly. So anyways, this guy started a college ministry after my sermon, so I feel like it actually came back full circle tonight.
Come on, man. Well, let me ask you this. There's people out there, they're in that same journey where they are in a season and they have a vision for doing more. When you and I met and talked, both of us knew we loved young adult ministry. I could do young adult ministry the rest of my life, but I knew God had deposited a vision of local church pastoring. You knew God had planted a vision in your heart at some point that you were going to pastor not just a college ministry, but a local church. Talk about, for those that are out there in that season of waiting to, when is that the right time to step out into that next season? Because you spent a lot of time just being faithful, serving your parents.
And I think that in so many ways, sometimes I look back, I'm like, my only regrets are I wish I would have had a better attitude the entire time while I was serving. Because literally the seeds that you sow as a servant is the harvest you reap as a leader.
Wow.
And I think submission will take you further than ambition could ever dream of. And we have to learn that more. Like, you've got your whole life to live. And I'm so grateful for the 8 years I got to serve underneath my parents. If I could do anything better, I would have served them better, is what I wish I would have done. But I think timing-wise is always a very, very interesting thing. And there's lots of different theories and conversations and interpretation of Scripture. For me, it really was my dad was releasing me. My dad was sending me out. And I think with him sending me out, that really gave me confidence. But we had a 2-year conversation around all of that. But I think the biggest thing is for everybody who's listening to this right now is that this word vision is not a word to be taken lightly. Like, I was just with our staff last week in Vero Beach, and it's amazing. We had 60 people with their up in this hotel, and we're talking about vision, about where we're going as a church. And one of the things I said, realize that everything we're sitting in right now, this community that we have, it all comes from a vision. It all comes from something that didn't exist, that God spoke to us, that we saw, and we're building and we're shaping out. And I think everybody should have a vision for their life, and they should have a vision for what God's called them to do. Because vision gives pain purpose. And you can endure, and you will make it through if you have a vision of you knowing where I'm headed, where I'm going, and all this mundane stuff, all this stuff that appears to be small. The reason why you've got the energy and the reason why you have the passion for it is because you have a vision as to where you're going. I think so many people, they jump ship, they do every opportunity that comes their way because they have no vision actually of what the end game looks like, of where it is that God's taking them. And so when it comes to waiting on God, when you have vision, you're waiting on God, but really you should be living like God is already doing what you're waiting for. That's the way that you should be behaving. That's the way that you should be operating. You should have that type of spirit, that you're ready, that God's preparing you. I think no season with God's wasted. And sometimes the hardest seasons, the ones I want to throw away the quickest, are the ones that have produced the most fruit for me on the other side. And I want to get better at, we're all waiting on God to do something. I just want to do a better job while I'm waiting to become the person that he's called me to become. And so I would just say to people out there, when it comes to the timing, you need to get good counsel. You need to process it with people. You need to get a word from the Lord. But the biggest thing, whatever season you're in, is living life with vision.
Yeah, and I love what you said, that the seeds you plant as a servant will be the harvest you reap as
I
a leader.
believe that.
And it's so true. It is so
I believe
true.
it.
I see that today in my own life. I'm like, yeah, I did that when I was under my mom, when I was under my dad. And I have to give grace to people and to others, because I'm like, I want to sow good seeds right now that I can reap 5-10 years from now.
Huge, man.
Let me just say this, as we get ready to, for those of you that are watching this, make sure that you watch his sermon. We're going to have it up on YouTube. He's about to preach at our conference here in just a moment. But what is, you are not just an incredible preacher, you're a culture creator, a culture shaper. And, we were at a group of pastors roundtable with Pastor Chris Hodges, and he was commenting, and every pastor was commenting that's been to VU. They've said, man, the culture that Rich builds there and has built and is building is so healthy in the community. And so talk a little bit, I guess, as we wrap this up, what are you intentionally doing that other pastors can do or other leaders can do to focus on that culture that you've focused on and you've seen grow in Miami?
Yeah, I think the topic of culture, I don't think that stuff is true. Those pastors say about me, so I should clarify that. But we are working hard to create a healthy culture. I think we've got a long way to go. But it's just something that I care a lot about. There's so many ways of defining culture, behavior, the personality of a place. But the greatest lesson, I think, when it comes to culture, and this is not new news for anybody, but it's like you got to be what you want to see. You got to be what you want to see. And I don't want just a big church where people show up on Sunday and they get content and they leave. I'm trying to build a vibrant Jesus community in a secular, godless city. And the Apostle Paul said it this way. He said, we didn't just preach the gospel. We shared our lives with you. And I think that what I would love to see more pastors do in 2019 is share their life with people. And to do that requires vulnerability. To do that requires, I heard Donald Miller talk about vulnerability not too long ago. He talked about the idea that being vulnerable is like giving somebody a gun and hoping that they won't use it against you, because it's exposing your weakness. It's exposing your flaws. And I don't want to just show people how to live on a Sunday. I actually want to live with them. And I think when you start to do that, people support you, people come around it, and people are endeared to it. And I think the people on our team, I feel so much backing and so much support. But man, those people are aware of my flaws and my shortcomings and my weaknesses. And rather than hide those, I think those get exposed and we become vulnerable and we grow together. And so I don't want to just preach messages. I want my life to be a message. And I want to build a community in Miami. And the only way I know how to do that is I got to get right up in the thick of that thing. And I always tell our church, I don't just lead this church, I get to participate in this church.
Come on.
Meaning I get shoulders to cry on too. I get people to call and encourage me. And so I think that that's what this generation is looking for, is just that authentic, real, like, you're one of us. Doesn't mean that you, I think we get afraid that we can't lead if we're one of them.
We're too real,
But it's been the opposite for us, so.
No, I love it, man. And I love that you do it with your wife. That's my wife and I, too. We lead together.
You guys are smashing it. I love it. I saw a picture of your wife up on the stage, pregnant belly. I was like, this is freaking amazing. We are so
Bro, we love you, and we are honored you're here. And I just want to encourage everyone who's watching this, if you're not following him, reading his books, listening to his messages, go do that, because you will continue to grow. And the thing that you're leading will continue to get stronger and get more ideas. This guy is full of just creative ideas and passion. And just like you were sharing, the thing that I love the most about following you is just seeing what you do with the people. I love seeing that you're right there. You're on a boat with one guy. You're on a street with another guy. And you're with your team, and you're behind this. You're doing it. So, man, I love you. You inspire us all.
I love you. Thanks for having me.
Honored you're here.
It's Tulsa time, baby.
Come on. Stay tuned for more podcasts right here. Much love.